Hurricane Irma is now a monster Category 5 storm. It's the most powerful witnessed in the Atlantic in more than 10 years. Joe Bastardi is chief meteorologist for WeatherBELL Analytics, and he joins us now with more. Welcome, Joe.
Well, nice to be here.
First of all, give us your forecast. When and where will it hit, and how strong do you think it will be then?
Well, it'll be a Category 5. It's going to devastate the Virgin Islands. Puerto Rico is going to get a bad storm, but it will not hit them directly. It'll go 60 to 100 miles north of San Juan, it looks like, and then continue into the Turks and Caicos Island as a Category 4 or 5 storm, and a devastating hurricane at that. Now, I do believe Florida is going to get hit, and it's going to be a catastrophic event where it hits. The easiest way out, if you want to call it that, with this hurricane is that after the southern Bahamas, it goes west into Cuba, weakens for a while, then comes back north. If that's the case, we have a severe hurricane, no doubt about that, for South Florida. If it just stays over the water and goes between Cuba and Florida before coming into Florida, this could be as bad a hurricane as we've ever seen hit South Florida. And in the worst case scenario, I could see the pressure in this, the barometric pressure falling as low as the 1935 Labor Day hurricane, which brought winds of over 200 miles an hour to the Florida Keys. So there's a tremendous amount of potential for this. Keep in mind it would have to thread a needle to do that, but it's very, very rare that that threading of the needle is actually on the table.
Well, what's going to happen after it makes landfall?
Well, it's going to continue to devastate Florida up the coast, whichever coast it moves up along. If it moves up along the west coast, you're talking Tampa and on up in there. It'll be weakening. It'll be an 80 to 100 mile an hour hurricane by the time it gets north of Tampa. If it goes up the east coast, very close, that's a bigger problem because we've got more ports up there, all the way up to Jacksonville. There's an inflow of warm, moist air from the east. Remember, a hurricane coming up the west side of Florida is pulling air in from off Florida. That's why the 1935 hurricane, and this is the benchmark hurricane in the Florida Keys, went through there as a Category 5, but by the time it made its final landfall up near Cedar Key, it was down to a 1. So I think this is a catastrophic event for whoever gets hit. It looks like it's targeted at South Florida. Our track is into the southwest coast of Florida right now, but I'm very nervous further east. And even if it goes into the southwest coast of Florida, all of Florida is going to get a hurricane if you live east of Apalachicola. I don't think this is a big threat for Pensacola, Mobile, and places like that.
Is this a trend, Joe? Are we going to start seeing more heavy storms hit the U.S.?
Well, we had this year pegged from May, and that's not pompous boasting. It's on our WeatherBELL site. We said it was a high-impact year. The major hurricane drought was going to end, and I cannot state it any further. We got the whole Western Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico painted red because we felt that's where storms were going to intensify. The past 10 to 12 years has been a pattern that's set up, and it may be because of the warming of the planet has caused the sea level pressures to vary enough that the United States has missed this. That's odd, isn't it? That the warming may be causing them not to come. But you notice how cool it's been, and all these hurricanes are going off, and there's a reason for that. When the ocean's warm and you have a lot of high pressure and cool air over North America, the hurricanes go off. That's what you saw happen in past events. In fact, again, we put this all on our site before the season, back on May 7th. We put this out for everybody to see. If you can get a chance to go read that hurricane forecast from before, the only thing I'm saying is it looks like what we suspected before the season is actually occurring. And sometimes you get it right.
Well, what do you advise people to do who are in the path of Irma?
Listen to whatever authorities on that matter have to say. Okay? You prepare for the worst, pray for the best, and that's what I would do.
Okay, what can our viewers do to help those that may not be in the path of this storm, but they want to help?
Well, that's up to everybody else. I don't mean to sound flippant here, but I'm going to try to, God gave me the ability to forecast the weather. That's where I'm going here. And, as far as those things, people have to pay attention to what charities they could contribute to or whatever they're being told. And go where their heart moves them.
Okay, Joe Bastardi of WeatherBELL, thank you so much for your time and your insights today, sir.
Thank you for having me. I always enjoy coming on.
Thank you again.